They're doing it. They're trying to thwart democracy. A major court battle began today in Colorado to ban Trump from holding office. If the plaintiffs win, Trump will not appear on the Colorado ballot at all. And this would then cause a ripple effect in other states. You could believe that many of those never Trumpers and many of those who are much in the Democratic establishment, they absolutely do not want Donald Trump on the ballot. They want this court case to win so that they can then go and implement this state after state after state. Unfortunately, there are a lot of attorneys who believe this might actually go through. He may be banned from the Colorado ballot. According to the New York Times, the lawsuit filed in September by 6 Colorado voters with the help of a watchdog group called Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington argues that former President Donald Trump is ineligible to hold office under Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. Now, let me read that section to you. It says, the 14th Amendment, Section 3 states, no person shall be a senator or representative in Congress or elector of president and vice president or hold any office, civil or military, under the United States or any state who, having previously taken an oath as a member of Congress or as an officer of the United States or as a member of any state legislature or as an executive or judicial officer of any state to support the Constitution of the United States, shall have engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the same or given aid or comfort to the enemies thereof. But Congress may, by a vote of 2/3 of each house, remove such disability. Which there's not a 2/3 Republican majority. So, and that's what the Democrats are counting on. New York Times goes on to say the plaintiffs say that Mr. Trump's effort to overturn the 2020 election, namely his actions before and while his supporters stormed the Capitol on January 6th to try and stop the certification of Biden's victory, meet the disqualification criteria. So they think that he engaged in an insurrection. Sarah B. Wallace, the state district court judge presiding over the case, rejected multiple requests from Trump and from the Colorado Republican State Central Committee in recent weeks to dismiss the case without a trial. So they wanted to dismiss it, and she said nope. Well, Wallace was also on Monday she rejected a call for her to recuse herself because she had donated to an organization that opposes Republican candidates in Colorado. So she's got a different agenda there. So yeah, that donation. So they tried to get her to recuse herself, and she's not recusing herself. So there are some experts who are saying that in fact this could potentially this could actually go through. It says here that this is some of the argument that was heard today in court. We are here because Trump claims after all of that he has the right to be president again, but our Constitution, our shared charter of our nation, says he cannot do so. Trump's lawyer said that engaging in an insurrection requires more than mere incitement through words. He says Trump had never called for violence and had urged his supporters to act peacefully and patriotically, even. But so they're saying that let me see here, some prominent constitutional experts, including the conservative law professors William Bode and Michael Stokes Paulson, in an academic article, and the conservative former judge Michael Luttig and the liberal law professor Lawrence Tribe have argued that the clause applies to Mr. Trump. So they say, but that view is far from universal among legal scholars, and several have told the New York Times over the past few months that the questions are complicated. So it's not cut and dry, unfortunately. It isn't cut and dry. That means that if he loses this case, if the plaintiffs win and they actually are able to successfully kick him off the Colorado ballot, of course, it's going to go to appeals. Of course, it would head to the Supreme Court. I would think that they would hear it quickly on whether or not he incited an insurrection. Let's just listen to what he said on that day, and you decide, do you think he's inciting violence and an insurrection and an overthrow of the government? Watch this.
Now it is up to Congress to confront this egregious assault on our democracy. And after this, we're going to walk down, and I'll be there with you. We're going to walk down. We're going to walk down anyone you want, but I think right here, we're going to walk down to the Capitol, and we're going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women, and we're probably not going to be cheering so much for some of them, because you'll never take back our country with weakness. You have to show strength, and you have to be strong. We have come to demand that Congress do the right thing and only count the electors who have been lawfully slated. Lawfully slated. I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard. Today we will see whether Republicans stand strong for integrity of our elections, but whether or not they stand strong for our country.
So I didn't hear anything like what I hear come from, usually for a protest, it's like, we got to fight for our rights. And then you could maybe interpret fight like they were violent. They were trying to incite violence. He didn't say anything violent. He says, we're going to peacefully and patriotically go there, make our voices heard. We're going to see if they have integrity. We're going to see if they do the right thing. We're going to be cheering for some and some not so much. I mean, these are not words of get out there and fight and take it over, and we're not giving up, and we're not caving, we're not conceding. I'm going to be in that Oval Office. He doesn't say anything like that, but they're still saying, they're trying to say that this is incitement of an insurrection. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to prove that in court. Seems like I would hope that you would need more evidence than that. Trump is still the leading candidate by a long shot. None of this is cutting him in the polls. They know that his popularity is still great, so they can't do anything about his popularity. They've tried impeaching him a couple times, all these lawsuits, but ultimately he's still leading in the polls, and ultimately he is still the leading candidate. He's number one. Donald Trump holds this is amongst Republican voters. 43% are still looking to vote for Donald Trump. DeSantis has 16%. Nikki Haley has shot up to 16% as well. Tim Scott at 7%. Vivek Ramaswamy has fallen down to 4%. So Trump is still the big guy, and the only way that they're going to be able to get rid of him is if they actually make him ineligible. So voters are still going to go for him. They know this. The only way to get rid of him now is just to disqualify him completely, and that is what they're attempting to do. We're the defenders of democracy, say Democrats. We are the ones that are holding this country together. Really? Doesn't really look like it. Looks like you're kind of thwarting democracy and, trying to rig an election. I mean, that's what rigging an election would be, is if you disqualify the front runner. You disqualify the front runner. Do you not think that's rigging an election? That's exactly the definition of rigging it.